I took the night shift at a roadside motel because no one else wanted it. 12 rooms, one flickering neon sign, a highway that went quiet after midnight. The owner told me one rule on my first day: don't assign room 17. He didn't explain why. I didn't ask. From 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., I sat behind the front desk with a coffee that tasted like metal, watching dust float through the light. Every sound felt louder at night: the hum of the vending machine, the ticking wall clock, the distant rush of cars. Most nights, nothing happened. Then came the storm. Rain hammered the roof around 2:12 a.m. Thunder shook the windows hard enough to make the key rack rattle. I was halfway through scrolling my phone when headlights swept across the lobby windows. A car pulled in. That was unusual. People didn't stop here in storms. They sped past. A man walked in, tall, soaking wet. His clothes looked old, too old, like something from another decade. He didn't drip water onto the floor. I noticed that immediately. "Room," he said. His voice sounded flat, like it didn't echo right. "Sure," I replied, standing. "ID, please?" He stared at me for a moment too long, then smiled. "You already have it." I frowned. "Sir, I don't." 17, he said softly. My stomach tightened. "I can't rent that room," I said. "It's out of order." The man tilted his head. His smile didn't fade. "It's the only one I've ever stayed in." Lightning flashed outside. For a split second, I swear his reflection didn't appear in the glass door behind him. I swallowed. "I can give you room 6 or 9. He leaned closer over the desk. I smelled something cold. Not rot, not mildew, just cold. "I won't be staying long," he said. "I never do." Before I could answer, the lobby lights flickered, just once. When they came back on, the key for room 17 was gone from the rack. The man was holding it. I don't remember handing it to him. He turned and walked toward the parking lot. I should have stopped him. I didn't. At 2:47 a.m., the phone rang. Room calls went through the desk. I answered. "Front desk." Static crackled, then breathing, slow, controlled. "Is everything still the same?" the man asked. "Yes," I said, though I didn't know what that meant. "Good," he replied, "because it never ends well when things change." The line went dead. I checked the security monitor. Room 17's camera was blacked out, no signal. All the others were fine. That wasn't possible. The wiring ran in a straight line. If one went out, at least 2 more should have failed. At 3:09 a.m., the motion sensor alarm chirped. Room 17. I grabbed the flashlight from under the desk and stepped into the rain. The storm had quieted, but the air felt thick, heavy, like the night was holding its breath. Room 17 sat at the far end of the lot. The door was open. "Hello?" I called. No answer. Inside, the room smelled clean, too clean, like it had never been used. No dust, no wrinkles in the bedspread. Then I saw the mirror. Something was written across a finger drawn through steam that shouldn't have been there. "You're early." My reflection looked wrong. A second behind my movements. I stepped back. The bathroom light turned on by itself. I ran. Back in the lobby, I locked the door and watched the monitors. At 3:33 a.m., the camera for room 17 flickered on. The room was empty, except for the bed. Someone was lying under the covers, facing the camera, facing me. It was my face, eyes open, unblinking. The phone rang. I didn't answer. The voicemail light blinked. A new message appeared on the system. Timestamp 2:12 a.m. Before the man had arrived. Against every instinct I had, I played it. My own voice came through the speaker. "Front desk, how can I help you?" Then another voice, mine again, but quieter, whispering. "He's here. Don't give him the key." The recording ended with a sound like a door closing. Behind me. I turned. Room 17's key was back on the rack, still wet. At 5:58 a.m., the sky started to lighten. The storm cleared. Birds began to make noise like nothing had happened. The owner arrived at 6. I quit on the spot. As I was leaving, I asked him one last question. Who usually stays in room 17? He looked at me carefully. No one, he said. Not since the night clerk disappeared. I didn't ask which one. That was months ago. Last night, while driving home on a road I don't remember taking, I saw the neon sign again. Same motel, same storm, same room light on at the end. And when my phone rang, the caller ID said, Room 17. I worked the night shift at an old railway station for a few months. Officially, it was still listed on maps, but in reality, it was abandoned. No passengers, no tickets, no announcements, just the occasional freight train passing through in the middle of the night. My shift started at 11 p.m. and ended at 5 a.m. All I had to do was sit in a small control room, watch the cameras, and make sure no one entered the restricted areas. The first few nights were quiet. Too quiet. The wind howled through the tunnels, echoing like distant voices. Sometimes the lights flickered, but I told myself it was just old wiring. Things started getting strange during my second week. The first time it happened was at 1:40 a.m. One of the security monitors suddenly turned on by itself. Camera 9, Platform 0. That didn't make sense. There was no Platform 0, at least not officially. The footage was grainy and black and white, a narrow platform, dim yellow lights, thick fog crawling along the ground. A single metal bench sat in the middle. I assumed it was a glitch, maybe an old recording looping by mistake. Then the station loudspeaker trackled to life. Incoming train to Platform 0, arriving shortly. My stomach dropped. That speaker system hadn't worked for years. I left the control room and stepped into the main hallway. The fluorescent lights flickered above me, buzzing softly. My footsteps echoed louder than they should have. At the end of the hallway, where there was supposed to be a solid concrete wall, I saw something new. A metal staircase. I froze. That staircase had never been there before. I stood there for a full minute, convincing myself I had just never noticed it. Then I went down. The air grew colder with every step. It smelled like rust and damp concrete. When I reached the bottom, I found myself standing on a platform. A rusted sign hung above my head. Platform 0. The fog was thick, the lights barely worked, and someone was sitting on the bench. A man in an old-fashioned coat, his head lowered, completely still. "Sir," I said, "this area is closed." No response. I took a few steps closer. That's when I heard it. A train. Not loud like modern trains. This one sounded heavy, slow, and wrong, like metal dragging through darkness. A single headlight appeared at the end of the tunnel. An old train rolled into the station. No number, no logo, no destination sign. The doors opened. No one got off. The man on the bench stood up slowly and walked toward the train without ever looking at me. He stepped inside. The doors closed. The train disappeared into the tunnel, swallowed by fog. When I ran back upstairs, the staircase was gone. Just a concrete wall. I told myself I imagined everything. The next night was normal, until 2:03 a.m. The loudspeaker turned on again. "Final train to Platform 0, now boarding." I checked the cameras. This time, the platform was crowded. Men, women, different ages, all standing silently, none of them moving. I felt something pulling me, like I was supposed to go down there. The staircase was back. When I reached Platform 0 again, one of the people turned and looked straight at me. It was my face. Same eyes, same scar above the eyebrow. He smiled. That's when I noticed something horrifying. None of the people on the platform were breathing. The train arrived. The doors opened. They all stepped inside, one by one, without a sound. My double paused in front of me. "You missed your stop last time," he said calmly. I ran. I don't remember climbing the stairs. I don't remember reaching the control room. I only remember the monitor. Camera 9. It showed Platform 0, and someone new sitting alone on the bench. Me. I quit the next morning. A week later, I checked the station's old records. There was a Platform 0 once. It was sealed after an accident. A night train vanished with everyone on board. No bodies were ever found. They say the train still arrives, but only for those who are already halfway gone. I worked the night shift at a small traffic control center. Not police, not emergency services. Just a room full of monitors showing live feeds from street cameras, intersections, tunnels, and empty roads. From 12 a.m. to 6 a.m., it was usually just me. Most cameras showed nothing. Empty sidewalks, blinking traffic lights, the occasional late-night car passing through. The job was simple. Watch for accidents, report anything unusual. At least, that's what I thought. At 1:58 a.m., one of the monitors flickered. Camera C47. That camera wasn't on my list. I checked the system map. Cameras went from C01 to C42. There was no C47. The feed showed a narrow street. Old buildings, no streetlights. The image quality was worse than the others, like it was being streamed from very far away. I assumed it was a glitch. Then the camera moved. Not panned, not zoomed. It turned, slowly, like someone was holding it. My chair creaked as I leaned closer to the screen. The view stopped in front of a building entrance. The door was familiar. Too familiar. It was my apartment building. My stomach tightened. I pulled up the timestamp. Live. 01:58:22. I was sitting at work, so who was standing outside my building? The camera angle lowered slightly, as if the person holding it was looking down at the doormat. It said, "Welcome home." I live alone. I don't have a camera outside my door. The feed cut to black. I exhaled, laughing nervously. Okay, that's not funny. At 2:06 a.m., the same camera came back. Now it was inside a hallway, my hallway. Same cracked paint, same flickering ceiling light, same fire extinguisher missing its pin. The camera moved forward. Each step was slow, careful. I checked the system logs. Operator, you. I hadn't touched the controls. My hands were shaking now. At the end of the hallway, the camera stopped. In front of my door. I stood up so fast my chair almost fell over. "No," I whispered. The camera tilted up. My door number. Then a knock. Not on the screen. Behind me. In the control room. 3 slow knocks. I froze. There was no one else scheduled. The building was locked at night. The monitor changed again. The camera now showed a small room. A control room. My control room. I could see the back of my chair. I could see myself standing, watching the screens. The timestamp still said live. A message appeared at the bottom of the feed. You left the camera on. The lights in the room flickered. I turned around. No one there. When I faced the monitors again, camera C47 was gone. Deleted. Every record erased. At 6 a.m., my shift ended. I didn't tell anyone. I just went home. When I reached my apartment, everything looked normal. Door locked, no signs of forced entry. Inside, I tried to convince myself it was stress, hallucination, fatigue. Then I noticed something on my desk. A small black device. A camera, pointed at my bed. The red light was on, blinking, and on my phone, a notification appeared. C47, live. I took the job because it paid cash and no one asked questions. Night shift at a gas station in the middle of the desert. One pump still working, a small shop with flickering fluorescent lights, miles of nothing in every direction. The owner warned me before he left. If anyone asks for directions, he said, don't give them any. I laughed. In the middle of nowhere? He didn't smile. Especially here. From midnight to dawn, the desert felt unreal. Too quiet. No wind, no insects, just the hum of the fridge and the buzz of the lights above my head. At 1:17 a.m., a car pulled in. Old, beige, covered in dust like it had been driving for days. The engine didn't make a sound. A woman stepped out, thin, pale. Her clothes looked wrong, too clean for the desert, like she hadn't touched the outside world. She walked in and stood in front of the counter. "Is this the last stop?" she asked. Her voice echoed slightly even though the room was small. "The last stop for what?" I said. She blinked, slowly. "Before the road ends." I felt a chill. "Roads don't end," I said. "They just keep going." She smiled faintly. "That's what they all say." She looked around the shop, then back at me. "Which lead to the city?" The owner's warning echoed in my head. "I can't give directions," I said. "Sorry." Her smile disappeared. "Oh," she said softly. "Then I'm late." Before I could ask what she meant, she turned and walked out. I watched through the window. She didn't get into the car. She stood beside it, waiting. At 1:29 a.m., the radio crackled. I hadn't turned it on. Static filled the room, then a voice, low, distorted. "Last call." I unplugged the radio. The voice kept going. "Last call for those who missed their turn." The lights dimmed. Outside, the woman was gone. So was the car. At 2:03 a.m., another vehicle arrived. A pickup truck this time, rusted, headlights off. A man got out. His movements were stiff, like he wasn't used to his body. He walked in, sniffed the air. "Smells like fuel," he said. "That's good." I didn't respond. He leaned on the counter. "You seen a woman, light dress, looks lost." "No," I said. He nodded as if he expected that. "Figures," he muttered. Then he looked straight at me. "You working alone?" "Yes." His smile was too wide. "Then you should hurry." "Hurry with what?" He tapped the counter twice, choosing. Before I could ask, he left. The desert outside had changed. The horizon looked closer, like the world had shrunk. At 2:22 a.m., the bathroom door creaked open by itself. I hadn't heard anyone go in. From inside, I heard whispering, multiple voices, all saying the same thing. "We missed the exit." I backed away, heart pounding. The shop door slammed shut. The pumps outside turned on by themselves. Numbers started rolling fast. No hoses connected. At 2:34 a.m., the window fogged up. Words appeared, traced from the outside. "You work here, now." I grabbed my keys and ran for the door. It wouldn't open. The radio crackled again. "Last stop closing." The lights went out. In the darkness, I heard footsteps surrounding me, too many. A hand touched my shoulder, cold, dry. A voice whispered in my ear, my own voice. "You didn't give directions." The light snapped back on. I was alone. The shop was normal. Morning light crept over the desert. At 6 a.m., a car pulled in. A young guy stepped out, phone in hand. "Hey, is this the last gas station before the city?" I opened my mouth, paused, then smiled. "Yes," I said, "it is." He thanked me and walked back to his car. I watched him drive off, in the wrong direction. When I looked down at the counter, there was something I hadn't noticed before. A name tag. Old, cracked plastic. It read, "Attendant, Night Shift," with my name on it. Behind the counter, the radio whispered softly, "Another one stayed."